Welcome back to Next Life Garage. Today we're working on Ant Buck again, as y'all can see. I'm going to be taking the sheetrock mud spreader to try and scrape some of the sound deadening stuff off the floor pans. We'll see how that works out. I'm also going to be taking the whisker bit on the grinder to some of the loose rust in there. Then we're going to be spraying it down with a rust converter. It'll go on clear and turn black as it sets up and cures, and then we'll put a top coat on it just to keep things from rusting inside her again. I'll get y'all out of the sky, show you that little sound deadening stuff that I'm going to be trying to get out with the sheetrock mud, and once we get that out, we'll go to town with the grinder. This is the sound deadening material that I'm talking about. I've already loosened this up when we did the interior cleanup, but the pilot side's not as bad as navigator side. I think the navigator side took the brunt of the water where that quarter window's been leaking, and the windshield up there at the top where you see that trim falling down that you saw in the interior cleanup video. But the sound deadening stuff here in the pilot side floorboard, it's still stuck down pretty good. So I'm going to try to use that knife to get that stuff up without tearing it up too bad, and we'll stick it back down with some of the tacky snot spray. Spray it on the back side of one and then down on the floorboard of the other, and stick them back together, just hold them in place. Kind of keeps down on the interior noise, and we'll have to figure out something to do over there on the navigator side, because that stuff was pretty much gone and deteriorated when we got our hands on her. That's what I'm going to be working on today, but I'm going to get at it. Well, the dirtiest, nastiest part of that job is done. You don't want to get all the rust off of this thing before you use that rust converter. The rust converter actually needs the rust in order to convert it and adhere to it and seal it back in before you put your top coat on. So we were just basically going for knocking the big stuff off, which we did. Made a huge mess doing it, as you could probably see on the time lapse. All the dust clouds shooting up everywhere. Again, the driver's side wasn't as bad as the passenger side over there, but it cleaned up pretty good, as you can see. So next step's going to be pull her inside, get the fuzz buster out and suck everything, all the dirt and debris and dust out of it. We'll mask off the doors and the stuff we don't want to get rust converter on, and then give her a spray down with the rust converter after we wipe it down with some damp rags after we fuzz bust it out. But that's going to do it for the whisker bit on the inside of this one. We'll pull her inside and vacuum her out and see how she looks before we put the rust converter down. We've got the inside of Ant Buck vacuumed out, wiped down with the damp rag, and ready to put our rust converter down. You can see I've got dashboard windshield masked off up front, got the rear window masked off and draped over the trunk opening there. That way we don't get too much overspray. Those doors are not masked on the pilot side because I'm going to be spraying from the pilot side over there and closing the navigator side here. I've got these doors masked off. That's the back door there. You see the front door there. But trying to keep the overspray down in the basement here so we don't get overspray on all of our other stuff in here. But I'm going to close down the doors here. I'm going to be spraying some Krylon Rust Tough. Eliminates rust, basically converts it over. Like I said, it'll go on clear and it'll turn semi-flat black once it dries. That way we know that we've got good coverage and we've got the rust taken care of. We've got the floor pans painted, top coat on it. Got the rust converter underneath it. Ready to put the carpet back in. Not bad for a rattle can job. Should keep it nice and protected for many years to come. Got a surprise to share with you guys. I'll set y'all back up in the sky before I divulge that information. Just wanted y'all to see what the inside of the car looked like after getting the rust converter and the top coat down. And that's just a semi-gloss chassis paint that I put down on the floor pans. But she's looking good in here, so I'll set y'all up in the sky and we'll take a look at the surprise I got for you. That's going to wrap up the inside of Aunt Buck here. Got the floor in there rust converted and top coated, so she should be good for another 55 years of life, hopefully. While I had her in here in the sick bay though, waiting on paint to dry and just killing time, I decided to go ahead and try and address one of the problems that's been bugging me for a while. Really been keeping me from getting her out on the road and driving her around. Hang on, I'll show you what I did. We got parking lights. And we got front turn signals. Now that we got parking lights and turn signals sorted out on Aunt Buck, I feel a little more comfortable getting her out on the town and cruising her. Basically what was going on in there, the contacts for the light assemblies, you know, those lights are grounded through those assemblies onto the chassis or the bumper. It was a little rusty in there. Took them out, cleaned them up with the miniature whisker bit, and put a little dielectric grease on them, put them back together so they won't rust up. And in the wire harness itself, the little two-prong connectors for both the right and the left side, contacts in there were a little messed up, a little corroded, so I cleaned them up, put some dielectric grease in them as well. So when we put them back together, maybe that grease will keep them from corroding again for another 55 years worth of life on them as well. But now that that's done, I'm more comfortable getting her out, cruising her around, having a good time with her. Hope you guys enjoy watching me bring her back to life. I know I'm enjoying bringing her back to life. Keep in mind our other videos out there on the Nissan 240, the Excursion, Big Karen as I call her, or BK, and the Cherokee, Cherry. There'll be a little more to come on Aunt Buck here, but until then, don't take no wooden nickels and be good. Somebody's got to.